Right now before the Supreme Court, a case that could change the lives of millions of people living illegally in the United States. The courtroom fight challenging the president's authority and the San Diego families who have so much on the line.
The next person to sit in this chair will not have been here during the Great Recession.
Ready to lead, the council candidates in San Diego who are reaching out to voters now, and the challenges of the next person who will represent a district covering voters from downtown to North Park. Plus, call in the reinforcements. It's the busiest day of the year for one state agency. What happens after your tax return is signed, sealed, and delivered? This is Evening Edition on KPBS. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The debate over immigration went to the U.S. Supreme Court today. The justices heard a challenge to President Obama's executive orders that would shield millions from deportation. Our team coverage begins in Washington, D.C. with Cronkite News reporter Lauren Clark.
And they get deported, who stays behind? Their children stay behind.
Thousands gathered outside the Supreme Court while the justices heard oral arguments for one of the most important cases this year, the U.S. versus Texas. The ruling would dramatically affect the life of one Arizona resident, Claudia.
I am undocumented myself. I'm fighting for myself, for my husband, for my brother, and for my mom.
Parents like Claudia could avoid deportation and stay with their children born here in the U.S. under a policy proposed by the Obama administration in 2012. But Texas, along with 25 other states, including Arizona, argue it's an unlawful and unconstitutional move.
It's not the way things work under the U.S. Constitution. It's not the way things work in our democratic republic.
But for others, it's the chance to live without worrying if a family member will be sent away.
It just tarnishes the family apart. Like, you don't know when you're going to see them again.
This case could also affect
up to 150,000 people in Arizona that would be benefited by the order.
But the impact of this case is far greater, say opponents, than just this program, arguing that these actions is a recipe for disaster.
That is the nature of our government. It always changes. The reason we have a constitutional system is to protect you.
Still, advocates are unwavered. It's not tomorrow they are worried about, but the impending threats of today.
Our communities have a voice, and our voice is going to be heard.
And that story from reporter Lauren Clark from our Fronteras partner, Cronkite News. And this case is being watched very closely by tens of thousands of people in San Diego who are eligible for DACA or DAPA. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero has that part of the story.
Veronica Ruiz crossed the border illegally 17 years ago with her husband and 2 daughters. Since then, she's had 2 more daughters while working as a house cleaner. And her husband started a floral business.
We come for a better future, working hard, help our daughters.
The Migration Policy Institute says DAPA would affect more than 70,000 people in San Diego County, and DACA would impact more than 30,000 who were brought here as children.
Think about 70,000 people becoming part of the legal job market. Now they integrate themselves into society. They will now start paying their taxes. So the IRS is going to get a lot of revenue from undocumented immigrants who now can work legitimately.
But even if the court decides in favor of the White House, the orders could be overturned by a Republican president.
We're going to have strong, incredible borders, and people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally.
Velasquez says the executive orders are not a permanent solution.
What we really need is for the Congress to acknowledge the importance of legalizing more than 11 million people, bringing them into the mainstream so they can be legitimate, so they're not exploited, so that the economy can improve.
Ruiz says she would be very grateful if the executive orders are upheld. The Supreme Court's decision is expected in June. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
Voters hit the polls tomorrow in New York. 95 Republican delegates are up for grabs in the primary there, and 291 for the Democrats. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders all have ties to the state and are looking to leverage those into votes. Like California this year, New York could actually play a pivotal role in who gets on the ticket for both parties. And beyond the New York contests, California Secretary of State Alex Padilla was in town. Today, he reminded students at San Diego High about how important voting is.
If young people who registered and voted at the same rates as older voters, they can make a huge difference in the outcomes of elections.
45% of eligible voters aged 18 to 29 showed up to the polls in 2012, while 72% of eligible voters over 65 voted. The students we spoke to want to change those numbers.
I feel like it's good for kids our age to get involved and care about who's going to become our next president, because we are the leaders of the next generation.
A lot of people, I hear them complaining about politics and stuff, but then they don't vote. So I think that if you want to change things or make things better, the way if you want to have an impact on your community or your country, that you need to vote.
Voters will have a chance to cast their ballot to replace San Diego City Councilman Todd Gloria in June. He's termed out and going for a seat in the state assembly. As KPBS reporter Claire Tregesser tells us, both council candidates aim to model themselves after Gloria.
On a recent evening, a group of about 20 neighbors got together at a Hillcrest home. They were there to meet District 3 City Council candidate Chris Ward and had some tough questions for him.
We own our home right here, and there's a lot of things going on in this neighborhood that we would like addressed.
I know.
How would he handle the homeless problem? How would he repair Balboa Park? Why are rents so darn high?
$300 a month increase.
Yeah, I know, and you're not alone, and there's a lot of people.
I'm gonna live in Billy's shed.
Ward is running to represent San Diego's Central District. It spans downtown, Hillcrest, and North Park, which means there's a wide variety of issues. Ward says the biggest are homelessness and fixing Balboa Park.
It's the city's crown jewel. It could be a better economic engine, and we need a little bit more TLC and attention into the park.
Hi, my name is Anthony Bernal, and I'm running for San Diego City Council, District 3.
Ward's opponent is also focusing on making repairs.
There are water lines, sewer lines, streets, sidewalks, street lights.
Anthony Bernal, like Ward, is a Democrat. There's little gap between the two on issues. Instead, they draw their distinctions based on their experience. Bernal works for the incumbent Todd Gloria.
And so I feel I have a real good grasp of the issues facing our city now. And I really feel I believe that I can hit the ground running on day one.
While my opponent is a really great guy, he's been a representative for one neighborhood.
Chris Ward! Chris Ward! Ward is chief of staff for State Senator Marty Block, whose district covers all of San Diego.
I've tried to make sure that we are simultaneously and adequately representing all the neighborhoods of the center city in San Diego.
My name is Scott Sanborn.
Bernal and Ward are also running against independent Scott Sanborn. He's an Army Special Forces veteran and lawyer.
Our greatest asset is our people.
But the council contest is expected to end in June. That will happen if one candidate gets a majority of the votes. It's a heavily Democratic district, so Ward or Bernal is expected to prevail. Ward couldn't name any ways he stands apart from Gloria, and Bernal needed to think about it for a while.
Hey, Nick, is there an issue that I could have had dealt with differently than Todd?
He called out to his campaign spokesman, who was watching the interview. Gloria isn't endorsing either candidate.
I think it's safe to say that District 3 will be in good hands.
Which Ward says is telling.
I think it says more that he's not actually chosen to endorse his own staff member, whereas I have the endorsement of my boss. That says it all.
Bernal says he isn't disappointed Gloria didn't endorse him, even though he works for the councilman.
Very early on, I sat down with Todd, and he's been nothing but encouraging for me running for city council.
Gloria says the challenge for the winner will be to transition from campaign promises to actual governing.
The next person to sit in this chair will not have been here during the Great Recession.
He says that means his replacement won't know what it's like to tighten belts during bad budget times.
Those rainy days will come, and the decisions to make adjustments should be done in a very thoughtful way, because those reductions literally have the ability to impact people's lives, really in a life and death way.
The candidates aren't focused on budgets right now. They first need to get elected, which involves making promises to spend money on everything from road repairs to affordable housing. Both Bernal and Ward say they're the one most qualified to sit in Gloria's chair. Bernal lives downtown and says he'd represent that neighborhood.
And bringing my unique perspective from the other neighborhoods of District 3. If you're in North Park, if you're in Normal Heights, if you're in University Heights, I've worked in all those neighborhoods, and I know I can hit the ground running on day one.
Ward says he'd hold himself to a high standard.
Are you going to have somebody with a very strong work ethic, who's in it for the right reasons, who has something to give back, who wants to use the limited time that we have, it's only going to be 4 to 8 years, to really make a difference for these communities and leave your mark?
Both candidates will be talking to voters and making their cases until the June 7th election.
How we grow for the next 30 years.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
As part of our California Council election coverage, KPBS will host a debate on May 10th with the top 4 candidates running to replace U.S. Senator Barbara Boxer. We want to know what questions you want us to ask the candidates. Share your questions with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter using hashtag #CACounts. We're accepting questions until April 22nd. There's a major development tonight in a 14-year-old cold case from San Diego. Authorities say they have arrested a man accused of killing his 2-year-old stepson. U.S. Marshals arrested Tyree Jones in North Carolina today.
The charges in the complaint are 1 count of murder, and in count 2 he's charged with felony child abuse causing death. Both carry a 25 to life sentence.
Jahi Turner was reported missing in 2002. Jones told police at the time that the boy disappeared from Balboa Park when Jones went to buy a soda. The boy was in Jones's care while his mother was serving aboard a San Diego-based Navy ship, and his body was never found. San Diego officials plan to request Turner's extradition. Ethiopia made history at the annual Boston Marathon. Ethiopians won both the men's and women's divisions in today's race, sweeping the winner's podium for the first time. Lemmy Haile finished nearly a minute ahead of the men's second-place winner. His unofficial time was 2 hours, 12 minutes, 45 seconds. Atseda Baisa won her division with 2 hours, 29 minutes, 19 seconds. Runners competed under heavy security. 3 years ago, bombings near the finish line left 3 dead and at least 264 injured. Today, 21 of those survivors ran the marathon. Rescue teams in Ecuador are fighting against the clock today, searching for possible survivors from this weekend's powerful earthquake. 3 people were pulled out alive from the rubble of a flattened shopping center after being trapped for 32 hours. Saturday's quake was registered at 7.8. 413 people are reported dead. Rescuers and aid from all over the world are flooding into the country. Meantime, the U.S. military is lending a helping hand in Japan, where another powerful earthquake struck last week. Airlifts are delivering water, bread, ready-to-eat food, and other emergency supplies to damaged locations in Kyushu, one of the country's main islands. Authorities say at least 42 people died and more than 1,000 were injured in the quakes on Thursday and early Saturday. The San Diego Office of Veterans Affairs is trying to cope with the longest wait times for mental health among any VA in the country. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says retirements and open job positions put continual pressure on an already fragile system.
Dr. Juan Nguyen has worked as a psychiatrist at the San Diego VA for nearly 19 years.
I think it takes a certain type of person to be in mental health.
San Diego has seen the demand for mental health appointments increase 9% a year for the last 10 years. The Wong says recent retirements among mental health professionals has made the wait time even longer for veterans. San Diego's had some pretty long wait times for a long time. It's not just converging right now.
That's true, but I also think, too, that the numbers of physicians on the physician side, I think, is the lowest I've known for the years I've been here. So I think we have more openings now than I remember it to be.
Wong runs the geriatric clinic where one of 4 psychiatrists has retired. San Diego is trying to fill 30 positions in its mental health care clinics. Some people have accepted the VA's offer, but recruiting and keeping providers is tough, even in San Diego.
We have Sharp, we have the Navy Hospital. So I think the choices for psychiatrists here tend to make it hard for the VA to say that we are here and we have a bigger role.
The Association of American Medical Colleges estimates that the U.S. will be down 2,800 psychiatrists just this year, making them among the most sought-after providers in the country. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
And today is tax day, and as you may have noticed, it is 3 days later than the typical April 15th deadline, and that's because this year Emancipation Day was observed on April 15th, giving public employees the day off of work. Even with 3 days extra to file, some San Diegans are waiting to the last minute. Bob Davidson has worked for the post office for 32 years, and he says there is no shame in procrastinating.
If you owe money, not a darn thing wrong with that. If you're getting a refund, you were just stupid. And I'm getting a state refund.
And the IRS reports last year a large majority of tax returns were filed electronically, which reduces the volume handled by the post office. The Margaret L. Sellers Processing and Distribution Center in Carmel Mountain Ranch will be open until midnight tonight. Now, once your tax documents are signed, sealed, stamped, and in the mailbox, work at the State Franchise Board is just getting started. Capitol Television reporter Jonathan Underland reports.
It's the busiest day of the year at the California Franchise Tax Board.
When the money really starts coming in, then I ask for reinforcements.
Every single state tax document filed by residents and businesses in California are delivered to this 82-acre state warehouse.
Every year we get more than 17 million returns, so today we expect about 3 million returns to come in.
Man and machine work together to open envelopes, organize documents, and scan everything into the state's database. And after at least 4 years in storage, paper documents are shredded and recycled.
This is more than 7 tons of tax documents, which the Franchise Tax Board would have been shredding per day more than 10 years ago. Now, they only shred 3.
State officials say they recycle less paper now because most Californians file their taxes online.
And so far, more than 12 million people have filed electronically, which accounts for about 93% of all returns filed.
It's a frenzied scramble as the midnight tax deadline approaches. From Sacramento, Jonathan Underland reporting.
And new numbers out from the federal government show that San Diego is a hotspot for inventors. Reporter Chris Young says the region boasts a high number of patent holders. He joins us now as part of News in Numbers, a series from KPBS media partner iNewsSource. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Give us an idea of how many inventions have come out of San Diego in the recent years.
Sure. So from 2000 to 2013, San Diego area inventors received more than 34,000 patents to protect their inventions, and that ranks the region 9th in the country for these patent grants.
Yeah, that's a large number. And why do we have so many patents here in San Diego?
It has a lot to do with the area's biotechnology and telecommunications industries, as well as its universities. According to federal data, many of the top inventors in San Diego work at companies such as Qualcomm, Illumina, and Arena Pharmaceuticals.
And where did you find these stats?
These numbers are from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. The agency keeps a database of patents that it grants to inventors from different regions across the country. San Diego isn't the only region in California where inventors generate lots of these patents. In fact, 4 of the nation's top 10 regions are located here in California. San Jose ranked number 1 with 114,000 patents over the 13-year period. San Francisco and Los Angeles were also in the top 10.
And you spoke with one of Qualcomm's top inventors. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. I talked with Roberto Padovani, the company's executive vice president. He has more than 100 patents to his name. Padovani recently won the 2016 Alexander Graham Bell Medal for his inventions that essentially formed the basis for third-generation or 3G cellular technology. We sat down in a lobby at Qualcomm in front of a huge wall of the company's patents, and he told me a story about what he called a eureka moment when he and his colleagues came up with an invention that led to a key patent related to the 3G technology.
and it was late at night in the lab. And again, it was a group of us. We had finished the day work, so we were sitting with our legs up on the benches and brainstorming on how could we potentially solve this particular problem. And we came up with a new concept, completely new. In a matter of an hour, the whole idea converged and really reached the point where we knew that we had it and that we could make it work.
And what's the celebration at that point?
The celebration was always a bottle of champagne.
iNewsSource reporter Chris Young, thank you. And for more on this story and to see the total number of patents received in other regions across the country, visit iNewsSource.org. It's home to a flock of pigeons now, but an empty lot in City Heights could soon be home to a community circus and other events. The El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association has signed a lease with the city for a dirt lot where El Cajon Boulevard meets Interstate 15. The group is reaching out to nonprofits and arts groups, including the Fern Street Circus, to find out how they want to use the space.
We were very afraid that it was going to turn into a service station or a convenience store. And there's so much better use that could be done with this.
The lot is one of 4 in the area that have been vacant for years. The city's redevelopment agency planned to develop the lots before the state pulled the plug on redevelopment in 2012. The program used property taxes to invest in blighted communities.
Dude, you gotta get out of the car. You gotta get out. Swim! What? Swim! Swim!
Wow, incredible footage there. It's a reporter to the rescue just before an ABC affiliate reporter was about to go live to cover the floods across the Houston area. He spotted a driver trapped inside a sinking car. The reporter directed him out of the water and continued the live coverage. A flash flood emergency has left at least 4 people dead and nearly 1,000 rescued from high water in southeast Texas. And it was a hot one in San Diego today. Steph Davis says more warm weather is coming our way this week. That's on tonight's KPBS Weather Report.
Well, it's shaping up to be a record-breaking day in San Diego. Temperatures taking off to the mid-80s, and we did break the record of 83 set back in 1914. So a fairly mild day out there across much of Southern California. Also a dry day across much of the West. High pressure in control, allowing for a tranquil weather pattern with plenty of bright sunshine. Showing clear skies across our area as well, and we will remain dry and clear as we head into the nighttime hours. Temperatures in Borrego Springs back to the mid-50s tonight under mainly clear skies. Clear and cooler in Mount Laguna. Your low is 36. To the 40s we go tonight in Ramona and Alpine. 45 with a couple of clouds in Oceanside. Clear and mild tonight in San Diego itself as we fall to an overnight low of 63 degrees. Still very warm as we look ahead to tomorrow across Southern California. We'll see a chilly pocket of air across the Four Corners region, but that will remain well off to our east. So much of the Golden State will experience another mild day for the day on Tuesday. Here's a look at your 5-day outlook for the coast. For your Tuesday, partly sunny and pleasant. High temperature 78 degrees. Carbon copy of that as we move into the day on Wednesday. Partly sunny and still mild Thursday with highs in the mid-70s. Friday, we're looking at a shower in the afternoon, high 71, and then mostly cloudy and upper 60s for your Saturday along the coast. Taking a look at your 5-day outlook inland, showing a similar weather pattern here, with mostly sunny skies for the day on Tuesday. Our daytime high is 80 degrees. Sunny and pleasant Wednesday and into Thursday. Then we see those chance for those showers Friday afternoon. That'll cool things off with highs in the low 70s. Mostly cloudy, kicking off the weekend inland with your daytime high near 70 degrees. Partly sunny and warm in the mountains Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with daytime highs at 73 degrees. Much cooler on Friday Friday as we drop to the low 60s, cloudy and cool on Saturday. Your high temperature is 57. We're wrapping things up with your 5-day outlook for the deserts, mostly sunny and warm Tuesday and Wednesday as temperatures take off to the mid to upper 90s, 94 with sunny skies on Thursday, and then not as hot on Friday and Saturday as temperatures fall back to daytime highs in the mid 80s. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, the Supreme Court hears arguments on President Obama's order to let unauthorized immigrants with citizen children remain in the country. That's Monday on the PBS News Hour.
All right, so check this out. This lucky duck got a new lease on life after he received new feet printed to order. His name is Philip, and he lost both his feet to frostbite and was rescued in Wisconsin. As a last-ditch effort, his rescuer reached out to a middle school technology teacher after seeing an online video of his 3D printer. Students got to work designing prosthetics for the injured duck.
I had a little doubt that maybe the angle was going to be wrong. That was my concern, number one, and number two, that he wasn't going to actually be able to balance on it. But again, that's where that whole problem-solving and design comes in. You know, we have done multiple prototypes, multiple designs.
You know, so let's hope it works, right?
And the next stop for Philip is an animal sanctuary where he can practice using his new printed flippers. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Good night.